Todd, we've discussed various ways in which we try to estimate quail abundance, and the method we're describing today is the roadside count. Sounds pretty simple and descriptive. Tell me about it.
It is a simple process, and it's also a lot of fun. Texas Parks and Wildlife uses 20-mile routes that they go through randomly every year, and so we tried to duplicate that here on the Quail Research Ranch. Our route is virtually 20 miles, and we have broken it up to an east side and a west side. We like to duplicate these roadside counts. Each side gets done 4 times in a 2-week period.
And what time of the year are we doing this? I know Parks and Wildlife does theirs, I think, in August. So what time of the year are we doing our counts?
I believe that's correct. Texas Parks and Wildlife does start in August. We actually start ours in September, usually the first week of September.
And so here we are driving down the ranch road, 10 miles an hour or so, just waiting for birds and then counting them.
That's basically it. We stay on that prescribed route. We drive, you need to stay under 20 miles per hour. If you can use the same vehicle every time, that would probably be helpful as well. And we like to vary where we start the transect, but we always wind up going the entire 20-mile transect, and we count every bird we see. It's important to try to, if you can identify the difference between a bobwhite and a blue quail, if you have blue quail in your area, it would be important to make a notation of that. But basically, you're trying to count every bird that you see on the route. We actually try to get an idea of the distance away from the transect that the birds flush from. And again, the important thing is to get a good count of how many birds you see on that transect. So the more observers you have, the better it will be. In our case, we typically try to have 4 observers when we're doing our roadside counts. And the more eyes out there looking for quail, the better off you'll be. But we do make a note of how many observers we have in case that has some influence on the number of birds observed.
What time of the day are we doing this?
We typically will do half of the ranch in the morning and then half of the ranch in the evening, and then flip-flop that the next day. Typically we do ours on Tuesday and Thursday. So if we did the west side in the morning on Tuesday, we would do the east side on the morning on Thursday. And then we will do the exact same thing again, varying where we start every time. So we're not sampling the same spot at the same time of day every time.
And so what does this tell us? Does this tell us how many quail we have per acre? What does it tell us?
Currently, it does not tell us how many quail we have per acre. We would love to come up with a formula for that. But at this point, basically, it's just an index of abundance. So you can get a good idea of how many birds you have from one year to the other. I do believe that there is some strong correlation with the number of birds you see on the roadside versus how many birds you will have out in the pasture. But we're not able to give you a definitive, if I see 100 birds, I have 1 bird per acre. We don't have that formula at this point.
But we also use helicopters out here to count quail, and we do generate some density estimates from that. How have our helicopter counts correlated with our roadside counts?
They've correlated very strong. If I'm not mistaken, we're at somewhere in the 97 percentile range.
Well, that ought to make Parks and Wildlife feel really good about their estimates. And again, to me, the beauty of the roadside count is, like you said, it's fun. I mean, you're out there at the right time of the day to see game, not only quail, but whatever else out there too. And I know my dogs sure enjoy riding along with me when I'm doing one.
And that's a good point. The time of day, we try to time it where it will be where the birds are going to naturally be close to the roads out feeding. You don't want to do it in the heat of the day where they'll be under bushes. You want to make it where you are able to observe as many as possible. So earlier part of the morning, late part of the evening, before it gets dark, of course. But when you would think it's most pleasant to be out riding around is when we like to time our roadside counts.
And should a person that's interested in doing this, should they grain the road their feeders full, or should they not be feeding when they're doing this?
We typically try to avoid doing it while we're baiting for our trapping efforts. When we're banding and collaring birds, we bait 296 locations on the ranch. We try to not be baiting because we do not want to influence their natural range. We'd like for them to be doing what they normally do on an annual basis in September when we come through and count those, so we're not adding any bias.
And so, based on the previous 7 or 8 years here, what have been some of your really good counts? What have been the average count maybe, and what's a great count?
Average count, probably, it's hard to remember average because we went through some doldrums in the 2011 and 12, 13. You got pretty excited if you saw a quail at all. But then most recent couple of years have been magical. We've been in the 600, 700, 800 range at times on a 20-mile route.
Wow.
But I would say average is probably going to be somewhere in the 70 to 100 range. And again, the exceptional route I think was 808 was our highest.
That's a lot of quail.
That's a lot of quail, and it's very difficult to count them that quickly.
And that was in 2016.
16.
And we think we had, that year, we think we had about 1.5 birds per acre. But we know we were undercounting because only about half the birds that were shot had leg bands. So we had somewhere probably in excess of 2 quail per acre, which is magical, as you said. Lloyd, as you drive across a 20-mile transect, obviously you got some parts of the ranch which are better than others. Can you deduce anything from your roadside counts? I mean, if you had a 2-mile stretch when you didn't see anything, how would you interpret that?
I believe you can anecdotally. As we were going through the doldrums that I was referring to earlier, we had the only birds we saw were in areas of dense brush, or in my opinion were in areas of dense brush. So that would be riparian areas, for instance, or areas that haven't undergone brush control in the recent past. I try to look at patterns of where we're seeing the birds, where we aren't seeing the birds, what's lacking in those areas where we do not see the birds, or what's special about those areas that do hold the birds, and look for ways to incorporate those into the areas that are not carrying as many birds, if it's something that we can observe, such as brush cover or possibly lack of forbs. Maybe we need a disturbance in the area, either prescribed herd or... That's a nice covey.
About what, 11 or 12?
I got 12.
12. And then you've got a data sheet where you'd be keeping up with this, correct? So
That's correct.
You'd record where on the route you spotted them, how many birds, those were bob whites.
And how far they flushed from the transect. That's correct. I also like to notate where we started and which direction we ran it. If we ran it either 1 through 10 or 10 through 1.
And when you say 1 through 10, that's the mile markers that we have established here on the ranch.
Mile markers are listening posts where we do our... There's another covey.
There's another covey, yeah. About 13, 14?
I can only see 9, but I started late.
When you've got 2 or 3 observers and there's variation in the counts, what do you do? Take an average?
Typically take an average.
That was one of the better coveys I've seen thus far this summer. So today, for this instructional video, we're doing this on the 19th of July, but that's really 6 weeks too early. In order to maximize our counts, we probably, again, want to start about Labor Day, something like that.
I like to wait till breeding season's over, and typically in this latitude, that's the end of August. So I just prefer to have the opportunity to see as many birds as we can. So typically we start the first week, the latter part of the first week of September.
I've been pretty pleased though, we've seen about 4 or 5 coveys so far. And like I say, you remember back to the doldrums, 2011, 12, you could drive all down here and not see a quail.
You're excited when you did see a cubby.
So Lloyd, how have the counts that we've done here at the Quail Research Ranch, how have those correlated with Parks and Wildlife's counts that they've done throughout the ecoregion?
I think they've tracked each other very well. In the recent past, our numbers have been about 10 times higher. There's a variety of factors why that might be. Some of their counts may not be in all contiguous good quail habitat, whereas on the research ranch, virtually the entire ranch is usable space by bobwhites. They go through county roads most of the time, and some of those county roads are on the edges of plowed fields that may be either cotton or a wheat field in various stages of development, and just aren't really that great of habitat for quail, so their numbers may be skewed lower for that reason.
Well, there's certainly nothing very high-tech about this. It doesn't take any equipment other than your vehicle. Just takes about an hour and a half of your time, doesn't it?
That's right.
You know, there's another thing about just being out here early and late. That's the old idea that the best fertilizer is the footprint of the farmer. You have a chance not only to see the quail, obviously, but again, make those associations. We're seeing more quail here than we are here, and be able to try to pattern that and say, or ask why. So again, it's very therapeutic for the aspiring student of quail. Is one count sufficient, or should you repeat it?
On the Quail Research Ranch, we like to repeat it 4 times. We do each side 4 times. It's important to have replication in case for some reason you have a bad count. You don't want to have somebody maybe driven down the road right before you have and scared all the birds off, and then you get a lower estimate. We try to vary where we start the route and which direction we run our route every time.
Are there any weather variables that you take into account, or is too much wind, or any cloud cover, or anything like that?
We like to make sure that the wind is less than 20 miles per hour. We try to travel less than 20 miles per hour, and we wouldn't want to do it while it was raining.
How many counts should a person plan on conducting? Is one sufficient?
I think it's important to do this count several times. We typically do it 4 times on the Quail Research Ranch. There might be a number of reasons why you may not see very many quail on a certain day. Somebody could have driven. I'm seeing so many birds
Probably
I can't
another
talk.
10 or 11 birds there.
Yep.
I'm assuming you have to have some infrastructure of roads for this to be very applicable.
It is important to have some roads in order to traverse and again, a prescribed route that you're going to take every year to keep it consistent.